Okay, so the PFL is back for their first playoff card this year in 2022. It is the 7th overall, and in the main event from the Hulu Theater at Madison Square Garden, we've got the rematch, Anthony Pettis and Stevie Ray. Also in the light heavyweight division, the feature bout will be Omari Akhmedov taking on Josh Silveira. Silveira stepping in for the injured champion in Antonio Carlos Jr. Also in the light heavyweight division, we've got Rob Wilkinson taking on Monte, and then also you got Aubin-Mercier fighting Alex Martinez in the other semifinal for the lightweight division. We've got different fights as well in this card. You got 11 fights in all. You've got 7 to kick up the card, and then 4 postlims after the 4 playoff fights do conclude. So we'll get all into those in a second. But folks, if you have not yet, make sure that subscribe button down below for more MMA here on the channel. We'll be back for the next 2 PFL playoff cards after this in the upcoming weeks. And also, folks, make sure to go check out our UFC tough finale with Santos and Hill predictions. They're also on the channel, so link in the description for that video as well. So the first fight on this PFL card, I'll keep it short. Mahmoud Sebie taking on Itzo, but I don't know who he's fighting, honestly. Like, I watch a lot of MMA. I don't know who Sebie is fighting here. So for Mahmoud Sebie, he comes into Bellator's last fight. He's 2-0, winning on XMMA and then on Icon. Comes into Bellator. He fights Ethan Hughes in a fight that he is a -250 favorite in, and he loses. Just loses the fight. He gets out scrambled. Hughes is beating him on the feet. Sebie lands some takedowns of his own, but in the 3rd round, man, Hughes reverses positioning on the ground and eventually just works on Sebie and eventually finishes him with about 30 seconds to go in the fight. So the -250 favorite in Sebie loses that one, and now he turns around here on this PFL card against Itzo Babulaidze. I don't know who this guy is. I'll be honest with you. He fought his last fight in CFFC. He won over Jorge Molina. Keep it a buck with you. I didn't watch that fight. That was a couple months ago in March. Again, I'll be real with you. I don't know who this guy is. He is 1-0. I'm going to take Sebie just because I know who he is, and I think he'll be able to bounce back from that first loss that he just didn't have. Again, don't put money on this fight, but I'm going to go with Mahmoud, the Prince of Egypt, Sebie, to win this one by decision. So now on to some PFL names. We've got Corey Hendricks fighting Martin Hamlet, and I don't like that Hamlet is fighting so quickly after getting knocked out by Josh Silveira. Silveira ran through him in that fight that they had a couple months ago. Less than 2 months ago, at PFL 4, Silveira gets him with a head kick and eventually finishes him, gets him in the clinch, works his knees, and eventually puts away Hamlet in the first round, picking up the quick 6 and giving him this opportunity in the playoffs to be the replacement fighter for Antonio Carlos Jr. Hamlet beats Osculus in his first fight this season. I mean, it's what he's supposed to do. Osculus was really bad this year. I mean, I don't know why he was really in the season, but Hamlet beats him by decision. Again, he made it to the PFL championship fight last year where he lost to Antonio Carlos Jr. He got there because Cesar Ferreira had that weird hamstring injury where he just kind of fell over 13 seconds into the fight. This is a rematch of the 5th week of the 2021 PFL season where Corey Hendricks ended up winning the 3rd round at Byron Naked Choke. Hamlet was a huge favorite going into that one, but Hendricks still picked up the victory. But since Hamlet already had 5 points going into that fight, Hendricks only picked up 4 with the victory over Hamlet. Hamlet still advanced onto the playoffs. He beats Ferreira, loses to Carlos Jr. Hendricks instead gets a shot on the 9th episode of the PFL 2021 season. He loses to Chris Camozzi, and then of course he comes back. He beats Emiliano Sordi in his first fight of the 2022 regular season. Doesn't get the second fight because he came in on short notice to take that fight, and then now he's fighting Martin Hamlet. So Hendricks was 1-0 this season. He runs right through Sordi, finishes him on the ground in the 2nd round. I think he should beat Hamlet, and I just don't like Hamlet fighting this fight again. Less than 2 months after getting knocked out. It's not a good thing. I think Hendricks will be able to take advantage. We've seen him go out in ACB and pick up quick knockout finishes. I think he'll be able to blitz Martin Hamlet quickly in this fight, not even risk this one going to the ground. I think there's a pretty distinct striking advantage for Corey Hendricks in this fight, especially since this guy he's fighting in Martin Hamlet just got knocked out 2 months ago. Again, less than 2 months ago. Taking Corey Hendricks all day, 1st round knockout. So now a heavyweight prelim fight between Marcelo Nunes and Dylan Potter. I mean, both these guys are pretty solid on the ground, but I think there's levels to this game, and Marcelo Nunes has a better ground game than Dylan Potter does. I mean, you look at Dylan Potter, of course, coming off the Contender Series. He just got subbed in the 3rd round of that fight that he had, of course, try to get into the UFC. He's been fighting outside just major promotions throughout his entire career. He had a fight in LFA where he lost to Myron Dennis, but he hasn't really picked up a win over a really named opponent yet. He's lost to some solid guys. Freight Train Hamilton is one of them. But like, he hasn't fought anyone on the level of Marcelo Nunes. Nunes is 8-1. The only loss coming to Rafael Lovato back in 2016 in Legacy for the middleweight championship. Of course, Nunes now fighting at 265. I just think he's better on the ground. You look at his win that he got in the Challenger Series for PFL, where he submits Bevon Lewis in the second round. And is Bevon Lewis the greatest fighter in any stretch of the imagination? He's not. But still, I think he's better than what Dylan Potter honestly can offer. I mean, Bevon Lewis is a guy been in the UFC before. He was beating Uriah Hall for 2 rounds until he wasn't, right? I think there's levels to this fight on the ground. I think Marcelo Nunes just has that grappling advantage in this one. I think he's better with his jiu-jitsu game against Potter, and I see this one hitting them out immediately. I think Nunes will test the ground game of Potter. I'm going to go with Marcelo Nunes to win this fight by second round submission. So here we go. It is one of the semifinals here for the light heavyweight division. We've got Rob Wilkinson, the 1 seed, taking on the 4 seed in Delon Monte. I mean, for Delon Monte, he comes in the first PFL regular season week, loses to Antonio Carlos Jr., gets subbed in 30 seconds by a Darce choke, okay? But then he turns it around, he beats Emiliano Sordi in his second fight, knocking him out in the first round. The man has only been in the PFL Smart Cage for 2 minutes time in his first 2 fights. Average of 1 minute in his first 2 fights. And here you go, and now he's up against the 1 seed Rob Wilkinson, who has looked really good since exiting the UFC. I mean, of course, he ran to Israel Adesanya, his second fight in the promotion. He loses, gets sent out the promotion. He won some fights in Australia, and now he's in the PFL. He beats Bruce Soto in his first fight, knocking him out in the second round, and then just knocked out Victor Pesta in the first round in their fight just a couple months ago in June. The guy's good, man. Wilkinson has got sharp hands. He's got heavy hands too. And as long as he doesn't get hit with the big shot from Delon Monte, like Monte landed against Emiliano Sordi, I think he should be fine. Sordi, of course, the former PFL champion, just looked washed up this season. Sordi has really not looked good since he lost to Carlos Jr. Honestly, since the 2021 season has started. Since Sordi won the championship in 2019, the guy, let's be honest, has not been the same. I mean, I don't really hold too much weight on that Delon Monte win against Emiliano Sordi. I think Wilkinson is levels ahead of him, and I think he's going to come out here. I think he's going to knock him out quick. I think Monte's going to swing for the fences early, trying to, repeat what he did against Emiliano Sordi. I think Wilkinson's going to catch him on the counter, put him down on the ground, and finish him with strikes on the ground. I think it's going to be a quick night in the office for Rob Wilkinson, punching his shot now in his ticket to the $1 million finale, and Wilkinson will be fighting for the light heavyweight championship here with the PFL in his first season. So now the lightweight semifinal between Olivier Aubin-Mercier and Alex Martinez. I don't even think Alex Martinez should be here. I don't think a lot of people think Martinez should be here. He lost that fight to Clay Collard. He lost to Clay Collard his last fight. I mean, I think everyone thought Martinez lost, but somehow he gets a split decision nod. He beat Stevie Ray in his first fight, which I guess kind of looks good now, considering Stevie Ray is in the main event tonight against Anthony Pettis in their rematch. And the second time they're fighting in 3 months, but that's besides the point. Martinez, of course, this is his second season in the PFL. He made the playoffs last year, but he lost to Jaguar Paw in the first round, in the first round of the bracket in the playoffs. Aubin-Mercier, though, is a guy who's undefeated so far in the PFL. He comes in, he beats Marcin Held in 2021. He beats Darrell Horcher. Then he comes in 2022. Beats Natan Schultz his first fight, beats Hush Manfio, and he took Manfio out the playoffs. The reigning champion is no longer in the playoffs because of Aubin-Mercier going in there and beating him by decision, something that I didn't think was going to happen. But Mercier is so well balanced. I just think he's all around better than Alex Martinez. I think wherever this fight does go, I like Olivier Aubin-Mercier. I mean, he's got to be the favorite right now to win this lightweight tournament, right? Because I feel like if you're going to rank these guys at 155, Mercier's 1, Martinez is 2, and then make what you want out of Stevie Ray and Anthony Pettis. We're about to talk about those guys in just a few minutes, but these are the top 2 guys I think who are in the final 4. I think Mercier's already taken out one of the better guys in Hush Manfio. Again, Clay Collard is gone, but again, he got robbed. He should be in this spot, but instead it's Mercier. I think Aubin-Mercier is better than Alex Martinez. I think he's going to go in there. I think he's going to outlast Martinez. I think he's got the better cardio. I think he's got better striking. I think he's got a better ground game. All around, man, I like Olivier Aubin-Mercier to win this fight. Just think he's better than Alex Martinez. If Martinez is going to have a shot, I mean, I think if Martinez is going to win, Mercier's got to make a mistake. But where is he going to make a mistake? Because Mercier is so good on the ground. And do you think Martinez has got the punching power to knock him out? No. So I think Mercier's got all of his bases covered here. I think he's going to go win this fight. He'll do it by unanimous decision, moving on to the championship fight in a couple months. So here's your big time fight. Here are light heavyweight. We have got Omari Akhmedov taking on Josh Silveira. The winner in our eyes goes on to take on Rob Wilkinson for the PFL championship here in 2022. This is a good fight, man. I'm glad Silveira's in the spot. Now, again, Antonio Carlos Jr. I think was the likely favorite to go win the entire damn thing. I was going to pick him to beat Omari Akhmedov, but now he's out. Silveira's in. Silveira's the 5 seed, taking on the 2 seed, and Omari Akhmedov. It's a step up in competition, because Silveira has not taken on a guy the level of Omari Akhmedov just yet, but he's taken on some solid competition outside the UFC, outside the PFL, excuse me. I thought he was going to go to the UFC. I thought he was going to be on the Contender Series this year, but no, he's on in the PFL, and so the PFL got to him before the UFC did, and Silveira's guy getting undefeated. He's 9-0. He's got a lot of punching power on the feet. His striking keeps on evolving. He's a really good wrestler. He's got solid submissions as well. He's got really heavy top pressure. The guy's really good, man. You look at his win over Martin Hamlet in his last fight. He runs through Hamlet on the feet, and we're not even talking about his ground game. And Omari Akhmedov's a guy who's a primary wrestler. He comes into the UFC when he starts his tenure over there. He's known for his wrestling, right? Yes, he's got some punching power, and yes, he can throw that big overhand right, but Akhmedov's going to try to go in there. He's going to try to grind you out on the ground. Of course, over his time in the UFC, he developed that big overhand right that he always throws. He's going to, duck the shoulder, throw the big counter shot. He's going to try to land and put you out. But, I mean, in this fight, Silveira, I think, is a better striker. Silveira is kind of just a better version of Omari Akhmedov on the feet. He throws different strikes than Akhmedov. Like, Akhmedov doesn't throw a head kick like Josh Silveira does. Silveira will switch things up on the feet more than Omari will. Omari's just going to throw winging hooks. He'll throw a big overhand. Silveira's going to show you different stuff in the feet. And oh, by the way, on the ground, okay, Akhmedov, Omari does shoot some takedowns, he has been more relying on the hands as of late, he submitted Osculus in his last fight. I take that back. He did submit Osculus. He, kind of is weird. It kind of looked like Osculus was like, it was like a Lyoto Machida John Jones effect, if you know what I mean. But he knocks out Pesta in his first fight. His second fight, he, takes down Osculus, gets Osculus to the ground, of course, submits him with an arm triangle choke. But back to my point, is Omari Akhmedov going to be taking down Josh Silveira? I don't think so, because Silveira's ground game is so good, and I think Josh Silveira will be able to stop the takedowns of Omari Akhmedov, meaning that Silveira is going to be able to dictate where this fight is end up. And I'm picking a first-round knockout for Josh Silveira, because, again, we've seen Akhmedov, like the fight against Jordan Young. Young throws hard. He knocked out Omari Akhmedov. Josh Silveira should be able to do the same. But also, Omari Akhmedov doesn't have the greatest cardio either. I mean, you saw in the Chris Weidman fight, he gassed. I'll set that fight aside just because that was a grueling fight with Chris Weidman and Omari Akhmedov. Both those guys were wrestling for 15 hard minutes. It was a good fight. The casual I wouldn't even say the casual, like a lot of people didn't like that fight. I enjoyed it because I saw how hard Chris Weidman and Omari Akhmedov were working in that fight in the Apex in August of 2020. But still, Akhmedov's gas tank is not the greatest. Josh Silveira, if he has to, will drag him into deep waters. I know we haven't seen Silveira against the level of competition that Omari Akhmedov is, but Silveira's been into late fights. When he won the Challenger Series, he got the submission in the 3rd round. He can go deep into fights and he can still win. Can Omari Akhmedov? I don't know. I really don't, because Akhmedov, again, has dealt with those cardio issues. But all that being said, I think Silveira's going to get to him early here. I think Omari is going to be throwing big shots with him. I don't know if it's going to be a slugfest, but I think Silveira's going to pick his shots better. I think he will throw the better shots, the tighter shots, and I think he's going to knock out Omari Akhmedov in the first round, advancing to the PFL championship in his first season. Give me him versus Wilkinson in a couple months' time. So normally I would never pick the fighter who just lost 2 months ago in a rematch, but I'm going to do it here, and hear me out. I'm picking Anthony Pettis to beat Stevie Ray, and this is going to be a very weird comparison, but let me make it. I'm going to compare this 2 fights with Anthony Pettis and Stevie Ray to Juliana Pena and Amanda Nunes. Now, Amanda Nunes is making us believe, and she won the fight, so she can say what she wants. She won the second fight, is that she wasn't really training for the first fight. She was sick for the first fight. She was not motivated for the first fight against Juliana Pena. Now, Anthony Pettis was not sick for that fight. He did not have COVID. At least I haven't been told that he has had COVID before his fight with Stevie Ray the first time around. But I can get the unmotivated part. Now, Anthony, I don't think has gone out and said this, but it's got to be said to a certain degree. Anthony Pettis had already had the playoffs clinched going into the Stevie Ray fight. He, no matter what, going into the first Stevie Ray fight, he was clinched the number 1 seed because he beat Miles Price and submitted him in the first round in his first fight this season. Okay. I mean, Pettis knew he was going to be in the playoffs, and he knew if he lost to Stevie Ray, I don't know if he's calculated this out, but I did. If Anthony Pettis lost to Stevie Ray, he would have got to fight Stevie Ray again. If he won that fight, he would have had to fought Hushman Fio, a guy he had already lost to last year, and is definitely a tougher fight than Stevie Ray. Now he's going to get Stevie Ray. I'm not saying that, he tapped on purpose and he just wanted out the fight against Stevie Ray, but the weird body lock submission that they're calling a modified twister is weird. Pettis didn't really like try to get out and he just tapped all of a sudden. All I'm saying, it looked a little bit sketchy. And I'm not saying Pettis wanted to fight Ray again, that's why he tapped, so he got the rematch because he knew he was better than this guy. I don't know. But I think in a fight with a rematch between Pettis and Stevie Ray, you're going to get a motivated Anthony Pettis. And again, it's tough picking Anthony Pettis in this point of his career because this guy, again, he's losing fights. He's losing to Clay Collard. He's losing to Hoosh Manfield, but those two guys are really good. Stevie Ray is the one exception, especially since he got finished by Stevie Ray. But in a rematch with Stevie Ray, I'm not picking against Showtime Pettis. I know he's 35 years old, but he's still got the hands. And if he can keep this fight standing, he will dominate Stevie Ray on the feet. He will. He's got more power than Ray. He's still quicker on the feet against Stevie Ray. I feel good about Anthony Pettis winning this fight. I don't know the odds for this. I think they're about even. I like looking at Anthony Pettis in this one on the rematch. I think you're going to get a motivated Anthony Pettis, and Anthony Pettis that wants to be there, and Anthony Pettis who wants to be fighting for $1 million in his next fight. I think he's going to beat Stevie Ray. He's going to go on to fight Aubin-Mercier. It's simple. Pettis keeps this one standing, and he outstrikes Stevie Ray, who, again, you say this 5 years ago, Anthony Pettis versus Stevie Ray, who wins? You'd say Anthony Pettis 10 times out of 10. I know it's not 2016 anymore, or 2014 when Anthony Pettis was the world champion, but still, I like him to beat Stevie Ray. Again, he keeps it on the feet. He should be fine. If he gets taken down, you just got to hope Pettis works back up to his base and gets up. So, gonna go with Showtime Pettis to make his way out of the championship against Aubin-Mercier for, again, the lightweight championship. Okay, so real quick, I'll go over the post-slims. I'll keep it a buck with you. Not much analysis in this. I'll just give you my picks, looking over some of these guys' past fights and whatnot. First fight, we got Alexi taking on Elvis. I'm going to be going with Alexi because Elvis is a guy who is from, I believe, Puerto Rico. He hasn't fought a professional fight just yet. He's 4-0 as an amateur. He's been fighting in Dead Serious FC, a promotion in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Alexi has had a professional fight before. He won the PFL Challenger Series against Joe Ham. He won by second round submission. He was 4-0 as an amateur as well. I just like what I've seen out of Alexi so far more. I think he submits Elvis in the first round. Our next fight, we have got Lucas Barbosa taking on Elmar Umarov. I'm going to be going in this fight with Umarov. I think he wins this one by knockout in the first. He was scheduled to fight in FAC just last week, and of course that fight got canceled, so now he can go take on this fight against Barbosa in the PFL. He's fought in LFA, so he's 2-1 over there. I just think he's better than Barbosa. Barbosa's 2-1. He's a primary jiu-jitsu guy, and Umarov is decent on the ground too, so if he can keep this fight standing with Barbosa, I think there's a clear advantage for him on the feet, and I think he should be able to sit down Barbosa and win this fight. I wouldn't be surprised if Barbosa gets this one. He's a solid jiu-jitsu guy, and if he can catch Umarov, he could definitely win. Next up, we've got Elvin Espinosa taking on Corey Jackson. I think Espinosa wins this one. I think it's a pretty straightforward pick. Espinosa's a guy who's 6-0. He's fought for the PFL before. He beat Hopton Stewart in his last one of the PFL, the 7th episode last year of 2021. He's fighting in the 7th episode again. He's undefeated. He's 6-0. He's fought an Icon before. This guy's pretty solid, man. He's got a pretty good stand-up game, pretty good ground game as well. Taking on his opponent here in Corey Jackson. Jackson is 34 years old with only 6 pro fights. He's coming off a win in NFC 143, his last one for the Featherweight Championship, going by split decision. He's fought in Bellator before back in 2018. Again, though, Espinosa is one of these guys in PFL that they are pushing as one of their higher level prospects. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to push him to the 155 bracket next year, but I think Espinosa wins this one by decision. And then our final fight here, the postlims, we will have Brian Zurcher taking on Ricardo Jimenez. Going to be going with Zurcher here by second round submission. This one's pretty straightforward. The guy's 3-0. He's won before in professional MMA. Of course, he just won in the PFL Challenger Series, winning by unanimous decision over Scotty Stockman. And for Ricardo Jimenez, he's 0-1 in his pro career. He has not won a professional fight just yet in boxing or in MMA. According to Tapology, he is 0-1-1 in boxing, and he has not won a fight yet in MMA as well. He is 0-1-1, fighting in Ring of Combat and fighting in Dead Serious as well. So Dead Serious being a New Jersey promotion, and then Ring of Combat being centered in New York, but still, I don't like Jimenez in this fight. I think Zurcher is able to get him to the ground and eventually submit him in the second round. Again, he's 3-0, taking on a guy who has not won a professional fight just yet. So those are the picks here for PFL 7. We will be back next week for PFL number 8. Another playoff card we have got in Wales. Your main event being Roy McDonald versus Magomed Umlatov. You got Ante Dalia taking on Hanan Fahea, who Fahea is somehow in this, even though losing to Kilson Abreu. And then Dennis Goltsov taking on Matus Sheffield, because Sheffield's replacing the reigning champion Bruno Capoloza. And then also Carlos Lilos taking on Savadou Cease. You're not going to miss that one, folks, next week from Wales. But for now, thank y'all for watching. Make sure that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure that like button too if you did enjoy the video. Give a thumbs up for watching. And Mamba forever.